Hello there, welcome back to Minecraft. I've decided to start anew. Reason being actually fairly simple. The reason behind my starting anew is that I have decided to change the format of how I'm going to do this series. I'm going to do it basically twofold. One part that is more or less focused on, doing things better, basically making progress, and one part that is focused on basic tutorials and explaining what I'm doing. So the first thing that we're going to do here today is basically get started. I've already done quite a bit of mining. I've set up the house here, more or less ready to move in. Just have to make some windows. Actually have the glass. Can also explain to you how the chisel work while we're at it. Basically can turn one block into another fancier block. I think it's really easy to make. And you basically just use a stick and iron. But as I said here, this is basically the house that I'm planning to move into. I have an underground base that I've been doing some digging from. Also been doing a fair bit of exploring due to the fact that I had to find a chicken for this thing here, the clipboard. Now, basically here the plan of mine is more or less to become immortal. It's a hardcore series, meaning if I die, the world gets deleted and everything ends. So basically become immortal means that I won't be killed by any mob, more or less, since there's no other place here. And secondly, if I die, I want to make sure that I don't actually die. Witchery, I believe, has something to do with this. I can use Sync, I think. But on hardcore worlds, Syncs require you to use Nether stars or Nether, basically the wither drop, instead of Ender pearls that you can use in non-hardcore worlds. So basically, the way that we're going to do this is through armor, weapons, technology, the genetic, and basically any other means that I can come up with. So for day one, I'll basically explain what this series is going to be about and how I'm going to set it up. It's going to be basically become as strong as possible. And we're also basically, this is my underground base, and we're basically just going to continue from there. Now, basically the plan is to move everything into the house, and that includes the chests and cardboards. Now, these things are full of stuff that I've been gathering or digging while working here. A lot of wood, some food, resources, tons and tons of them. More stuff here. I also built a couple of machines because this thing basically to make the planks and the sawdust, I need to move the stuff. And this thing because the enriched alloy, I need a ton of it and it takes a while to make. And I have a lava generator here that we will be using to generate power. I think this construct is of course set up as usual. We have my patterns here, which is made basically, I think this construct is basically a mod where this is the only thing required. Planks, sticks. So this thing is the only thing that requires something else, which is 4 blocks of iron and these bricks, which is a combination of clay, grout, and clay, gravel, and sand. But yeah, I'm going to move everything up, and the way that we're going to do this is with help of the sawdust, because with 4 sawdust you can create a cardboard block or cardboard box. Now the funny thing is, you can actually pick up chests with this, and it will keep all of its contents. But before that, we're going to actually do some chests upgrades here. We're going to get our hands on. We're basically going to upgrade everything, I think, to iron chests, or at least create some iron chests. And I think I actually have to. There is no real, iron chest or wood to iron chest. There we go. Piece of wood surrounded by iron, and I'm a little bit unsure how many of these I'm going to make. So let's just see how much iron I actually have. I think we'll go with 4 chests for the time being, just because I can. I'm a little bit unsure if I need iron to anything I'm going to build, so to be a little bit careful there. But there we go, our full upgrades to make basically these chests into iron chests. And what the upgrade in essence does is that it doubles the inventory space of the chests, which is, no matter how you look at it, pretty damn sweet. So 4 iron chests for the time being. I don't have enough gold, I think, to do any more upgrades here. I do have some gold, and I do have some gold dust, but we're not going to use that. We're basically just going to use these iron chests as basically our tool here to move things upstairs. So I'm going to create sandbox cardboard boxes. I'm going to move everything upstairs, and once we've done that, we're going to go next, which is basically to create some better stuff. We're going to set up basic electric wall processing. We're just going to go with ×2 for today. We're going to probably upgrade it next time. And also I'm going to make some obsidian armor and bronze sword / paxel, and the reason that is really simple. There is a Triton base to my west, and instead of setting up smeltery on myself, basically gathering the items myself, there is usually a ton of resources in those places. And I'm going to take well, advantage of the situation, if you will, and basically raid them. But as I said here, plan is to move everything upstairs. Shouldn't take too long. And once I've done that, I'll get back to you. But there we go. Everything has been moved. My thickest contract stuff is set up here. Crafting table, the 4 iron chests, and I basically have one here to stuff everything else in. Now the funny thing is, but these generators basically also transportable batteries. And the lava generator, it's not hard to make per se, but it's a little bit wonky in the fact that even when the battery is full, it will still consume fuel. So if you actually do build this thing, which requires a block of iron, 5 gold ingots, 2 redstone, and a furnace, you kind of want to make sure that you don't overfill, because it will then just consume lava for no good reason. Lava drums is basically something we also want to do. It's basically just a drum, which is 6 steel, 2-weighted pressure plate, cauldron, and a pump, and we'll probably pump up some lava, but I might actually just make a drum for the sole purpose of bucketing up some lava and dragging it up here myself. I also consider using another type of generator to get my electricity, which was a furnace generator, which basically burns coal or charcoal, wood, whatever. I think you need charcoal or coal, but anyways, that's the 2 things that I've actually tested with it, and that it makes energy that way, and that is the reason why I've actually stolen these big trees on my expeditions, because if I wanted to create charcoal, I would have had to burn the logs in the furnace. So that is perfectly wonderful. This thing here, the metallurgic infuser, again, something that's actually really cheap to make. It's just a metallurgic infuser. It's cheap. It's one of the cheapest mech stuff you can actually. Metallurgic. There we go. That should probably show up. There we go. As you can see, 2 furnaces and also 4 iron and 2 redstone, really cheap to make. And the reason why this thing is important is because it's needed to make enriched iron. You can also use coal and iron to make steel, and basically it's really useful for that. We also need to make the obsidian armor. Now this thing is basically just to get the sawdust, and the precision sawmill is kind of expensive. It's not cheap, but it's useful. It gives you extra planks and it gives you sawdust, which you can use. I suddenly got an ECR with my English. It's really harsh, but we're going to need this thing as well. And it's basically the same build: steel casing in the center and some other rather cheap stuff around it. But we're going to set up electric ore processing, and for that we might as well just go into mech, because that is what we will be using here. Mech, and we're going to use 2 very basic things. So we're going to need an enrichment chamber, which, as you can see, steel casing, enriched alloy, basic circuits. These things are also cheap, just 2 redstone and enriched alloy. And we're also going to need a crusher, most likely, which requires 2 buckets of lava, and an energized smelter. So you can see all of these things are actually fairly cheap. The only thing that's really expensive in these things are the steel casings, but otherwise they are incredibly cheap to make. So I'm just going to gather resources and then we'll set everything up. There we go. I should have all the resources. Might as well go ahead and start, well, crossing things off here. So basically it's to get the machine set up now. And apparently here I messed up, because this thing's not supposed to be, but it doesn't matter. We need an enrichment chamber, but we need steel casings for everything, so let's just make 3 of these. As you can see, 1 osmium and full steel. Not expensive at all in theory. We are going to need a osmium compressor, but before that let us build a crusher, which apparently does not like the fact I need the buckets. I think I made a casing too little, but that's fine. Then of course the lava buckets. There we go, we have a crusher. Need a osmium compressor, and there we go, we have that thing, because we need that to make the obsidian ingots. I need a giant smelter, which actually requires cobblestone and all things, which is not something I took into my plan, but I should have some cobble here, so that's fine. Let's see. So as you can see, these things, they aren't really that expensive. Crusher, osmium compressor. I need a enrichment chamber. So this is basically the last piece, and this is what will, in electricity's way, turn 1 ore into 2 dust. Now, I had some things here that does not run on electricity. The crushers here. Copper crusher. It's basically stone crusher. Then you have copper. Basically, the crusher itself surrounded by, well, copper ingots, and the stone itself is also really easy to make. There's also a, they run on coal, and a fairly expensive coal-wise. The stone one uses 1 coal for 1 ore, meaning it's really expensive. The other side you have also a hand working device, which is, well, not that useful per se, but it could definitely be helpful. This is just basic universal cable, which is a steel surrounded by 2 redstone, or having 2 redstone on either side, so that's fairly simple. We're going to put down the energy smelter here, enrichment chamber there, we're going to need a crusher here. There's going to come a purification chamber here, and those run on oxygen, so we're going to have to set up a electrolytic separator down line. But the osmium compressor is basically a device that you fill up with osmium, and then it uses osmium combined with glowstone to make glowstone ingots, refined obsidian to make obsidian ingots, and refined obsidian is kind of a annoying thing to get your hand on, because it requires quite a bit of stuff. But first and foremost, you need obsidian itself, run through an enrichment chamber to get dusts, and you also need to crush up a diamond in the crusher here to get diamond dust. That diamond dust is then put into the metallurgic infuser, and as you can see, we'll use 10 each time you purify obsidian dust here. So I'm probably going to need a couple more diamonds crushed up here for my purpose. And as you can see here, this is a pretty harsh drain on the power, but if I put that lava bucket in there, it's going positive. So basically, this generator can keep these things running. We're also going to go ahead while those are working, get ourselves some gold dust here, because I am actually going to make myself a diamond chest to attack the Tritons, and for that I need 8 gold, so we'll just melt those up right away. We're also of course going to keep on making the obsidian, 30 obsidian dust is refined, and we're going to of course use the osmium compressor here to make obsidian bar. So basically obsidian bar is quite a powerful amalgamation of metals, and so you basically have 1 obsidian, some diamond, and an osmium ingot, so it's a really hard and thus really useful metal in reality. So it's definitely useful, and we're going to use this to make ourselves some armor. I think I can actually also make a paxel out of it, but I don't really want to. Now the bronze ingot is kind of a funny little thing as well. The way you make this is by using tin and copper dust, and it will give you 2 bronze dust. Tin and copper is usually pretty easy to find, but main point here is that in this mod pack at least, a bronze sword, it's let's see here, I believe it's actually more powerful than a bronze forestry apparently. Or yeah, it doesn't actually work that way, so I need to make basically these 3 things on their own. And we're going to make a paxel, because as you can see, the paxel is far more devastating than sword. Apparently I'm not getting the right type of sword. I need a mechanism one, but I'm not getting one, probably due to the fact that I'm using apparently a tinker table. But we're just going to go ahead then and make the other things here, the axe, the pick, and the shovel. So yeah, I'm a little bit flustered here since it didn't work as planned, but that's fine. I need 1 more stick, so that should go. We should now get probably won't. There we go, and boom. Bronze paxel, 13 attack. I believe the obsidian paxel has 14, so it's not that far from, but a diamond sword does actually have the same attack in this mod pack as a bronze one, so this thing is almost twice as powerful. And I don't really want to build a smeltery just yet, because building a smeltery is kind of a pain in the arse. To be perfectly frank, it really is. So I don't want to go through the trouble of building something that I won't really have any real use of. Now, I do need some more osmium if I am to complete the set. I'm going to melt that right up. And while we wait here, we're actually going to go ahead and make myself what I like to call an adventurous chest, which is basically just something that I'm going to use for my own purposes here. Now, I'm going to also have to melt up some iron here, unfortunately, so I'll do that first. And basically I'll get the metals that I need, I'll melt up all of the obsidian bars I need, I'll get all of the metals and everything melted down. I might have to go get some lava to pull it off. But basically here, once I have everything ready to be finally processed, I'll get back to you. There we go, I should have everything, and just as that happened, it started raining, but as I said here, the goal is more or less just to create a, well, what I like to call a adventure chest, basically a chest that I'm going to bring with me, and it's not something fancy, basically as long as you have the, cardboard boxes, you can basically take a diamond chest like this, stuff it in a cardboard box, and boom, you have a transportable inventory. And if you then can actually have a system where you know what's in what chest, you can basically fill up your entire system with this and carry with you an enormous amount of blocks. Now, the steel ingots here are something I forgot to mention. Steel is basically made by using 1 manganese and 1 iron dust. Manganese is kind of a half rare metal that is found basically not where most people dig. It's actually found quite high up in the layers, so that is that could be a potential problem for anyone going well after that that resource. Just a little bit of a fair warning here. Now, as it turns out, I made far more enriched alloy than I need, but it's definitely going to come in handy in the future. So I do not regret my decision. But say, I was going to drop the stuff that I know that I will, well, know that I won't need, like cobble is one thing. And basically now we're going to build the armor, and obsidian armor is pretty darn tough. It's well, it's tough enough though so that most common mobs, in other words everything except bosses, will, as long as the armor is intact, not be able to do any sort of damage to you at all. Also to show just how, I'm a little bit unsure how effective a obsidian sword is, but due to the, as you can see, the obsidian sword itself is actually far more effective than these things. I'm actually going to bring one of these with me as well, just because it's not horribly expensive, but it is what it is. Basically here, due to the fact that it is a hardcore world, I want to be properly prepared so I don't get a bad surprise and boom, dead. Sorry pal, game over, don't want to continue. But basically here, there's 2 reasons why I've decided to raid the Triton base. Number 1, in this mod pack, it's usually tons of useful stuff there. Ground usually comes in stacks of 64, which is really good when it comes to building smeltery, and smeltery will be useful for building or creating more and better stuff, but basically this will make me more or less pretty darn powerful. Now, I do have basic setup, basic electric ore processing. I have obsidian armor, bronze sword, and white paxel, which I'm going for here. Now this guy actually has steel. That is pretty powerful stuff, and as you can see, can't do any damage to me. And he has a full set of steel armor, which is, well, horribly powerful. As you can see, I have to hit him quite a few times. Now, the mobs that I am actually going to experience, you can already see on the upper left corner, the area, are pretty much stronger than he is. They are stronger, they come better equipped, etc. So they are not something to be taken lightly. And basically they have 4 towers. You can see the 2 towers north of the 2 they already have. They aren't that easy to spot, kind of like the aura node here. An interesting little bugger. As long as it's not one of those dreadful nodes that suck you in, I think I will be safe. I probably want to build myself a jetpack and ignite this once I'm done with this, just to make sure I can actually move a little bit better. There's another aura node over there, really easy to find when I'm actually over water. And as you can see, the Triton are basically people of the sea per se, thus they are, well, really easy to find. I'm actually going to take some gravel here because I just realized the stupidity of my own statement. It's just basic gravel pole stuff here, so we're going to dig through this corner, and the reason for digging through the corner is simple. I don't want to, well, have water flooding into the area here, so we might as well just take a little bit of peek in, basically a peek for next time. And here we have one of them. They, alone, they're not dangerous, but there are tons of them. As you can see here, already have 3 more after me here. And as you can see, they do have quite a plethora of different armors. That's not really the annoying part about these guys. They actually have healing potions, and they will use them. So basically, I can assume that if I'm not careful, that this armor will not bear me through this entire raid. This one was 550, this one was 800, 750, 650, so I'm pretty sure that my armor will not last me through this entire raid, fortunately. I might have to stop it early, but as you can see here already, basically just finding books like this is a decent find already, and as such you can basically understand why I want to raid this place. But we're going to do the raid next time. I'll see you then. Feel free to come with comments, praise, criticism, anything you feel like, any advice on what I should do, etc. You get the basic gist of it. But we're going for Triton Conquest next time.